In its 10 Princess Quest. The whole Princess Quest thing, its purpose was to lock Vanny away and prevent her from regaining control of her own body. So why did William create or allow for the creation of a fail-safe that allows her to escape? I mean, like, sure, they didn't expect a random kid to come along, figure it out, maybe, but given the track record of Afton and his plans, you'd think that he would have smartened up after at least 50 years. I don't understand. That's like having a self-destruct button on the bomb that you wanted to make sure nobody could stop. Or if Superman had like a kill me button, or just like had like a free kryptonite vending machine that he just put out in the middle of Metropolis. It's stupid. Like, if you want something to work, why give it a possible way to fail? One of the dumbest things that William has ever done. But he's also so goddamn lucky that it didn't backfire canonically. Seriously, what's the point behind having a way to undo your evil plans? This could just as reasonably actually been the canon ending to the game, even though we play as a kid the size of a 4-year-old. And the fact that it wasn't the canon ending, it's pure luck the way that that didn't happen, okay? Just like bury the third machine if you insist on doing this. And at 9, Vanessa. Possessing Vanessa itself was certainly one of the more messed up things that William did, okay? I mean, it kind of sounds weird, you know, and also extremely unrealistic. Like, this guy just pops up in your VR headset, then takes over your body after you collected 16 digital VHS tapes, or cassette tapes, I guess technically. But then after he takes over your body, you end up killing for him, okay? That's messed up. And like, not even kind of, that's incredibly messed up. But also, like, how? I mean, like, she knows what's going on too. She actively talks in hushed tones about how she can't talk to her therapist about it. But like, Afton got lucky with specifically was that Vanessa has no willpower to actually sacrifice for the greater good, okay? I mean, like, at this point, I feel like it's fairly safe to infer that Jeremy from FNAF AR didn't go crazy because he just saw Glitch Trap. I think it's fairly reasonable to say that he got possessed. At this point, Tape Girl hadn't broken up Glitch Trap into the tapes yet, and he was probably just able to possess whoever he wanted. So if Jeremy did get possessed, and the possession worked in a similar way to that it did to Vanessa, Jeremy would at times be sentient and in control of his own body. So if he knew about Glitch Trap, maybe he didn't cut his face off because he was freaking out. Maybe he did it to try to kill the monster that was inside him. And at 8, Springlock suits. The Springlock suits in general are also something that William and even Henry both got extremely lucky with. Like, while Henry may not have like designed the Springlock suits, he certainly let Afton create them and then allowed for their use in the restaurants despite them being incredibly dangerous to employees, only putting them out of commission when someone eventually got hurt and not actually being proactive because, you know, they are literal death machines. You make separate animatronics and then you have separate costumes, okay? That's the right move, that's the smart move, that's the safe move. But these so-called businessmen thought, yeah, I'll put the safety of my employees at risk by making them wear a hot as balls suit filled with robot parts that even with the slightest bit of moisture will shoot those robotic parts right back to where your bones are. What can possibly go wrong? Like, you think that Willy Wonka has OSHA violations? Imagine FNAF's OSHA violations. Oh wait, actually, you don't have to, because we already did a whole list on that. Be sure you go check it out. But seriously, the fact that nobody sued them because they were being put in these things instead of, like, you know, much safer and cheaper options of, you know, a fabric suit is insane. And at 7, Vanny. There were a load of complaints about how Vanny was an underutilized villain, and I totally agree. She only shows up like maybe 5 times in the main story, but like every time she does, she seemingly is taunting us instead of actually pursuing us. Like, sure, if she gets close enough, she will charge, but in my mind, that's just her thinking like, oh, I actually have a shot now, might as well try and grab him. But her just casually skipping while going after Gregory and then only really coming at him like 5 times in total is actually pretty solid luck on Gregory's part. Like, she always seems to know where Gregory is when she does show up. So if she was around regularly, we would have to constantly be on the move. And she also shows up whenever Gregory doesn't have access to Freddy, as if it's like she knows that he doesn't have access. Which would only make this worse for him, but it's fine. Which in my mind at least is pretty damn lucky. This is one lucky duck, let me tell you. And at 6, Leave It to Fate. FNAF 6 was supposed to be the end of the Afton story. I was so looking forward to it. That's what Henry sets out to do in this game. Make sure that nobody remembered what happened there. However, this also figured that the first fire didn't work, so a second one surely will. And in fact, he was so confident in this plan for whatever goddamn reason that he actually let himself die in the process to leave nobody remembering what happened. But he didn't think that even if himself, William, and all their kids are dead, the parents of the victims still know. And as we learned from Security Breach in the duffel bags, there are other parents who remember it too. Like, it's a whole thing in the FNAF universe. They cite the missing children from the Pizzaplex as happening again. If Henry had stuck around to see if the job was really done, maybe William wouldn't have been able to possess Vanny and come back yet again and just kill more people. Henry should have lit the place up, smashed everything that survived, and then maybe you could have offed yourself. But at least make sure the job is done first. How are we doing at number 5? Glitched Freddy. Alright, hear me out. It seems highly convenient that we just so happen to be at the show where Freddy glitches out, and that seemingly, as we're led to believe, this glitch is what causes him to refuse the Afton virus code thing. Like, what? How? We're supposed to believe that this glitch, or this error is caused by Gregory, given the security threat message that pops up next to the silhouette of a child when we're actually like watching it from Freddy's perspective. But if that is true and we caused the glitch, how is a kid in a group full of kids a security threat when people are allowed to be in the Pizzaplex at this time? Like, sure, he didn't have a guest profile or whatever, but if Gregory was the glitch, wouldn't Freddy have glitched again after scanning us when we start the game? Honestly, I think that the hardest part to believe about this, strangely enough, is the fact that we were able to climb inside of Freddy while he was glitching out on stage without anyone noticing. Like, sure, maybe he wasn't on stage when we ended up climbing in, but a glitched animatronic is surely going to have some form of personnel around them so that they can get fixed up, especially when he is the headliner and it happened during a show. No way that he didn't go through parts and service before we actually end up meeting him in the first moments of the game. That's some strange, like, god level luck right there, okay? Is that really what happened? Jeez, that's some Talos level luck right there. Oh, praise mighty Talos. And at 4, Sprung. So this absolute animatronic genius, the technician that made these suits, that handles the maintenance and has explained to every employee that has put on one of these things on like the proper procedure for the spring lock suits and making sure that it doesn't, you know, snap and then kill you, including the spring bodysuit that he uses to kill, ends up climbing inside the suit in a panic in an attempt to make himself feel more powerful. But somehow he's so smart that he didn't notice the leaking goddamn ceiling, which is already a health hazard, which you should have noticed beforehand. But then this also causes the spring locks that were active to snap shut, which would have killed him. However, this lucky mother hubber somehow managed to get possessed by someone who was so pissed at him that they kept him alive through all of his supposed to be deaths because they wanted William to suffer. Did they not realize how counterintuitive that is? The man literally wants to live forever and you are enabling him to do so. Old Man Consequences is right. Leave the demon to his demons. Rest your own soul so that Afton could finally die and then actually suffer in hell for all of eternity instead of a goddamn dream version that you made up when he was recharging underneath the Pizzaplex, or before he showed up in FNAF 6, or whenever you were goddamn torturing him with all this fake hell you made up. God damn it! Getting close to the ending at number 3, Fire. Alright, so during the true ending, otherwise known as the Afton ending or the Burn Trap ending or whatever you want to call it ending, we have to fend off Burn Trap's attempts to take control over Freddy by setting him on fire using what I'm guessing are the mechanisms that Henry used to set fire to the FNAF 6 location. However, I mean, it's pretty convenient how we fall into the room that we need to in this case, with monitors set up connected to the cameras in the various rooms that Burn Trap enters exclusively, with buttons that light the fires in those various rooms that correspond with the monitor, despite it being far more convenient for Henry to light everything at the same time with one button. Think about it, okay? How are these working still? It's clearly been a while, okay? Based on some comments, apparently the Pizzaplex has been open for at least 4 years, which I don't know if it's accurate, but if it is, these cameras and old computers are still working 4 years after being set on fire. That was enough to ruin the building. Not to mention a sinkhole that had to open up underneath it since we have to travel down an elevator to get there, and like, how is it working after all of that? And if you say that it was Vanny, why make sure the fire systems are still working and then set them to be on separate buttons, okay? Plus, now, these computer monitors are literal dinosaurs. How did they work before the fire, let alone after? Yeah. But ultimately, and at number 2, baby. This guy is actually the luckiest mother alive. This girl was killed by a robot her father made that was specifically designed to kill. She was then locked away in an underground storage unit where she was regularly shocked and tortured by scientists, technicians that William probably hired so that they could try and find out the answers to why she's possessed. She goes through all of this, is locked underground for like 45 years at least, and then goes on to try to make her father proud in FNAF 6. She literally says, quote, "I will make proud, daddy," while her father is literally in the building with her. Girl, this man is the reason you are dead. Literally, there is no debate about it here. This is 100% William's fault. And the fact that he didn't put a blacklist of people not to kill only makes this more on him. But you still want to make him proud? And finally, and at number 1, the Palladium rule. I will stand by this until the day I die. And you know what? I used to call it the Platinum rule, but now it's the Palladium rule because it's a meme and I love it. The most ridiculous but luckiest thing that has ever happened in FNAF was the fact that William Afton killed people in his own place of business and then didn't get caught. I don't know if this was always his intention, but like, who the absolute living hell would think that this is a good idea? Seriously, even if it's a TV show, okay, How I Met Your Mother does have some good lessons. One of those is Barney's Platinum rule, which is if you have to see the person every day because you work with them or they live in an apartment next door to you, okay, don't engage in some form of relationship, okay, because come a breakup, which is statistically probable, it just results in awkwardness and pain. And while this isn't the exact same thing, you are at this building all the time. Your name is a part of the company, so why would you think that this is a good idea? Literally go anywhere else, okay? You ended up even getting banned while there was an investigation underway. I don't get it. And 10 closed doors. Okay, so the reason we get stuck in the Pizzaplex in the first place in this game is because we don't make it to the doors before midnight and then they close on us. Somehow being unable to open again, despite that being a horrible safety hazard. But that's still awfully convenient for not only the game, but for Vanny and William Afton in general, right? I mean, it's not lucky for us, but this is about the game's luckiest moments. So how did that happen? Well, before the doors close, Freddy sends us to get a pass in order to free him from his green room, and then everything seems to go well for that part. But then, for some reason, without ever mentioning it before, Freddy tells us that he senses that we're broken and that he needs to bring us to medical so that we can get fixed up. Even though we are literally inside of him at the start of the game, and when he pulls us out, he scans us, but this is suddenly a new problem. Well, we then get a run-in with Vanessa, and then Freddy fends her off, but other than that, we stay the same. We don't get healed, we don't get a band-aid, we get in the booth, instantly turn around and then start watching the scene in front of us, almost as if it was just to like build our trust with Freddy. After that, Freddy doesn't ever mention how we're broken or injured again, especially since after that little stop, even if you go full steam ahead the fastest you can go sprinting the entire time, you can't make it out the front doors. In 9, you're supposed to be on lockdown. Freddy, you're supposed to be on lockdown is the first line that we hear Vanessa say in this game, and it's also the start of the meeting that I just talked about. The one that we really shouldn't have had because we weren't injured? Yeah, well, interestingly, this conversation actually also describes how lucky we are. Firstly, if Freddy is supposed to be on lockdown, why is it just Freddy who is? Like, why? Is it because he glitched out? And if that is the case, wouldn't you be glad that he's working again? You know, for the company's sake? And secondly, it's incredible that Vanessa sees Freddy, tells him that he's supposed to be on lockdown, and then doesn't escort him back, allowing him to just roam free afterwards. And then she doesn't even continue to go the way she was walking. After scolding Freddy, she turns around and walks back the way she came while she was searching for us, facing even more towards us while we're in the booth, and doesn't notice the feet under the curtain or the kid watching from between the curtains. Weird, right? Especially when she's supposed to be looking for us. I don't know, it just seems off to me, okay? It's like a whole load of this game does. Oh, by the way, if you're liking this video and want to see more weird moments from Security Breach that shouldn't have happened, hit like and subscribe and let me know in the comments. In at 8, Pizza Maker. When we end up getting trapped by Chica, if you don't try to escape through all chips and you try to go the other way, we end up getting stuck in a security office with only one working door, which Chica is guarding. However, we also just so happen to have access to a monitor connected to the online Freddy Fazbear Pizza Maker, an online service where we remotely control a robot to make a pizza that just so happens to lure Chica away from us. That's way too convenient in my eyes. There is no way that we just so happen to run into this office, the one that has access to this despite Freddy being disconnected from the main server for whatever reason. This computer is connected to it. I mean, I don't know how this is possible. This is way too lucky for this to just be luck. Oh well, okay? I mean, maybe it's not so lucky. The first time I tried this minigame, I got stuck in the tomato sauce machine, and I made some very disturbing step animatronic jokes towards Chica because of it. Actually, no, that was pretty funny. And at 7, calling the cops. Let's look at this logically, alright? Henry knew what was going on with Afton, and that Afton had some shady scenarios cooking in his brain. So if he knew that this man was up to no good, and he was fearing for his daughter's safety, why didn't he make the call to the police and be like, hey man, so this William Afton guy is like thinking about killing kids, and probably is the one that's been killing the kids that you're looking for. Like, I mean, sure, maybe you didn't have proof, but you could have certainly tipped them off, and then they could have, you know, found the proof. Come on, they could at least keep a closer eye on him, but you didn't. And instead, you did a whole load of other that in reality didn't do anything to stop William. I mean, you did one thing that put him out of commission for like 30 years, but again, that was only 30 years. You could have stopped him. You could have actually stopped him in his tracks, but instead you chose to keep your mouth shut. That is Afton's plot armor working overtime with no extra pay. And at 6, security access. Gregory throughout his time in this game steals so many things from the Pizzaplex, not even including all the little like gift boxes you can find around the place. He also steals security badges and ends up getting enough to have level 7 clearance. It's like a 4-year-old or however old he is, okay? Doesn't matter in this case. It's really unclear how old he is or how tall he is because he can't ride the go-kart alone, but he can fit in Freddy's cake cavity, but he can also speak full sentences with proper grammar and knows more words than I do. Like, again, no idea how old he is, but no matter what, how is he able to gain level 7 clearance? How are these so readily available for him to steal? And how is it that taking these badges always triggers some form of event that makes everything worse? How are the security guards supposed to use these badges if this is what happens every time they take it? Or you know what, an even better question, how are these security badges just laying around in like really special containers when the security should just have them on their belt with their normal clearance level, okay? Because getting multiple level 1 passes doesn't end up adding up to a maximum of level 8 clearance. That's still level 1. It's just a lot of level 1. Okay, I don't get it. It makes no sense. It's stupid. Halfway through into number 5, not a snitch. Okay, I don't know how Gregory survived security breach in general, alright? There were plenty of times that this kid could have got. Particularly though, when Freddy gets grabbed by the Moondrop animatronic right outside parts of service. You're telling me that Moondrop, the daycare attendant, the guy who has been chasing us every hour on the hour, told Vanessa that Freddy was in the parts and service room, but didn't mention that we were in the recharge station right next to it? He knew we were there. He waved at us while taking Freddy away. And then Vanessa talks to Freddy as if she doesn't know that we're listening in. It's almost like they're putting on a show. Like, sure, the daycare attendant isn't able to get us while we're in a recharge station, but we clearly aren't visible to him. He waved. So why wouldn't he also inform Vanessa about a kid in the recharge station while also saying, oh yeah, and I got Freddy? Okay, and if he did, why not bring that up when talking to Freddy instead of just asking him if he's helping us? Okay, it doesn't make sense. Daycare attendant not ratting on us is definitely a lucky moment, okay? I guess maybe he knows that snitches get stitches and that Gregory will tear him limb from limb with a smile on his face if he did, so maybe that's how it works. In at 4, Phaser Blaster. Okay, is it just me, or is a place like the Pizzaplex giving away a golden version of their laser gun totally far-fetched? Because that's the story that we're supposed to be believing when we get the blaster after winning. That winning this game was essential because it was the only way to obtain the prize of the Phaser Blaster, that you can then run around and shoot people with. And when you do shoot those people, they will have a reaction no matter where you shoot them, as seen in the What If You Shoot Vanessa video here on YouTube. Which essentially means that this thing is a laser beam taser, okay? And I don't think that I should have to explain why that's a bad idea. So, why is not only this place giving away a laser taser, but also one that when shot disables your main feature animatronics? That seems like just literally the worst idea that you could think of. Almost as if they've never learned. Getting close to the end in number 3, first victim. They say that a killer's first victim is the most important, since it might indicate what really got them to start killing, or other psychological clues that they can use to predict his next moves. But in the case of William Afton, his first victim was the daughter of his longtime business partner Henry, which is hella messed up because she was 3 at the time. And while we may have talked about how Henry dropped the ball before, this was the year that Afton's life started going downhill in the worst of ways. Cause like he started killing off kids, and then he sticks with with that MO throughout the rest of the criminal career. Then like he also loses his kids after that. But the fact that his first victim was someone who trusted him, who didn't really suspect him of anything, even though her father did, is something that I fear. But ultimately, into number 2, destruction. Isn't it convenient that there is a way to break every animatronic that isn't Freddy, that leaves the animatronic broken in such a way that you can remove whatever aspect that you need to upgrade Freddy? Hell yeah it is. Like, it's so lucky that there is somehow a way to break each of these animatronics in like the perfect amount for the animatronics as well. There's no more and there's no less. We don't have to use the same thing twice. And it works the first time. Even like with Chica, okay? We push her into a trash compactor because she isn't actually crawling in, and then somehow we don't get crushed despite her grabbing onto us and trying to pull us with her. We only get pulled into another area of this mallplex thing that we can then get back to the main pizzaplex through, instead of just being pulled into the trash compactor and having our heads explode. So yeah, needless to say that looking at it logically, it's extremely lucky that there is a way to destroy each of the evil animatronics in a way that allows us to get their specific upgrades, even though we didn't really need to crush the animatronics, and instead could have just chilled in Freddy's room until 6 AM when the doors opened. And finally, in at number 1, canon ending. During the true ending, or the Afton, burn trap ending, whatever the hell you want to call it, everything we experience is so freaking insanely lucky, like beyond even protagonist standards of luck. We have to fend off Burn Trap's attempts to take control over Freddy by setting him on fire using what are most likely the systems that Henry used to set the same building on fire in FNAF 6. I mean, it's incredibly thoughtful of the ground to only give out at the perfect moments that we fall into the room that we need to, with very easy to understand monitors set up connected to cameras in the various rooms that Burn Trap enters, and only those rooms, with buttons that light fires in the rooms that correspond to what the monitor sees. Plus, I mean, like, you really gotta think about it. How are these still working? It's clearly been a while. These cameras and old computers are still working for an unknown amount of years after being set on fire that was enough to ruin the building. Not to mention after falling into a sinkhole that had to open up beneath it. How is this all still working after that? And not only after that, but all of these computer monitors are literal dinosaurs. Like, if you go into an abandoned school library, this is what you will see. How did they work before the fire, let alone after? Okay, my parents have a monitor like this and it doesn't work, and I'm certain we took better care of it than a decrepit pizza brand that's been set on fire multiple times. So I don't know how this happened. Inconvenient exit. During the so-called interrogation and torture scene in Parts and Service, from what I've been seeing YouTube videos titled online, Vanessa is questioning Freddy about Gregory and accusing him of helping Gregory, which I mean is true, but she shouldn't have to actually accuse him of that. More on that later. But after telling him that she's gonna leave him down there until his casing can be put on a new endo, which doesn't really make sense if the coating is the issue and not the endoskeleton. Like, still, why would you leave to go to Rockstar Row through Roxy's lift when you could easily have just turned around to come our way and head into the main atrium? That's where Gregory is for the majority of the game. That's where all the animatronics have been spotting him, and it would make more sense to go there than to Rockstar Row, where maybe he was seen twice at this point. I don't know, it seems weird to me, but the reason that this is lucky is because had she chosen to go the more logical route, which would have been towards us, she would have walked through the doors we were hiding behind. And it's not like we have much room to hide around them, okay? The walls on either side of this door are made of glass. She would see us run into the charging station or wherever else we went. So yeah, her choosing to exit in the most inconvenient way to her actually ends up helping us out. And it ain't Freddy. Just everything that Gregory does with Freddy seems to work out eventually, even if not at first. Look at what he does before the doors actually close the first time. He sends us to get a pass in order to free him from the green room, and then everything seems to be going well. But then for some random reason, without ever mentioning this before, he tells us that he senses that we are broken and that he needs to bring us to a medical tent so that he can fix us up. Whether this was meant to be a nod to Crying Child or not in this case doesn't matter. Point is here that it didn't do anything, okay? We get a run-in with Vanessa that later turns into a TikTok meme, but other than that, we stay the same, okay? We don't get healed, we don't get a band-aid because we could have had the one that's on his character from the start, and we get in that booth, instantly turn around to watch the Vanessa and Freddy scene, and then after that we leave instantly and Freddy never mentions how we're still broken. And being broken, in this case, never seems to come up again or cause us any issues. Especially since now with that little pit stop, even if you go full steam ahead, you can't make it out of the front doors in time. That one little interaction is the 30 seconds that we needed in order to escape out the front doors, but thanks to Freddy, we didn't make it. But he still doesn't abandon us. He just tries to help. I mean, I don't know, it's off, okay? And if Freddy is evil, him not revealing it there and then is definitely lucky as hell. It had 7 paint cans. After starting the game and getting to the free roam section where you like have the tutorial for distracting animatronics, I just want to mention how goddamn lucky that is, okay? Like, one of the animatronics you're going to need to avoid, no matter how damn fine she is and how alluring she is, you still need to avoid her, is literally right there in front of you blocking your path. Yet, somehow, there is also a stack of paint cans randomly on in the middle of a random cart in the hall in front of you. Okay, why? That cart is also just for some reason blocking the hall that I'm sure multiple employees love having to walk around. But you know what? That's fine. It's fine that it's blocking the way because you can knock over the convenient and empty paint cans that are on top of it just so that Chica can come and investigate it. I don't, like, what? She's right next to the door that she ends up using to investigate it, so it's not like she's being inconvenient by taking that way. But like, still, and I get that it's for tutorial's sake, so like, oh yeah, this is how you do it, but like in the context of their world, that's super lucky. Suspiciously lucky. In at 6, Disassemble. In the Phaser Blast ending, the one where you push the button instead of playing Princess Quest 3, Gregory actually ends up ordering the robots to disassemble Vanny. Gregory being willing to kill Vanny here is pretty messed up. However, it's lucky that these staff bots even understood that command. Okay, Vanny is a human, not something that's typically seen as capable of disassembly, okay? When a serial killer hacks up a body, okay, the police don't say that the victim was disassembled, they say they were dismembered, okay? This guy kills Vanny and then only gets emotional when he has to go talk to a destroyed Freddy. Okay, like, dude, okay, Vanny is literally bleeding out next to you. We saw what happened to Freddy, okay? That was the disassembly. So, yeah, couldn't you just have said, like, stop or restrain Vanny? Particularly stop, okay? You didn't have to say freaking disassemble. I get that she said that about Freddy and it was fresh in your mind, but dude, okay? You're not panicking about literally anything else. And if the robots hadn't understood that command because, humans aren't disassembled, then it would have caused you a hell of a lot of pain. It worked on Freddy because robots can be disassembled because they get assembled in the first place. But now I am definitely going to start calling pregnancy assembling a human now, so that's fun. Thanks for that. Halfway through into number 5, worst Easter ever. Okay, from an in-universe perspective, in Security Breach, Vanny brought back seemingly this Earth's most prolific killer. But from a story perspective, it also kinda comes out of nowhere and feels forced. And in a game sense, he also just looks terrifying and then sends all the broken animatronics after us. And lore-wise, Afton's back again. However, he's also not entirely back this time, considering how this version actually seems to finally be dead, however only functional because maybe the coded version of Afton's consciousness is inside the animatronic. No matter what, this shouldn't have worked. He shouldn't have been able to have a sentient code form possessed Vanny, but then also be able to be present in his actual body. Like, what? Unless this entire time after getting spring-locked, his consciousness was instantly turned into a code, and that was then controlling the Springtrap suit. And in a way, I guess, would make sense. I mean, it would make a lot more sense than him being possessed by the spirit of his son. But from everything we've gotten, including Ultimate Custom Night and the man in room 1280, he was possessed, but to be kept alive so he could keep suffering, okay? Meaning that none of this should have worked. But it did! Getting close to the end, and at number 3, Moondrop. While there are plenty of times that Gregory could have been made in this game, particularly when Freddy gets grabbed by the Moondrop animatronic right outside of Parts and Service, that should have been it. You're trying to tell me that the daycare attendant, the dude who really wants to get us, told Vanessa that Freddy was in Parts and Service in the room or whatever, but didn't mention that we were in the recharge station that was right next to it? I mean, like, he knew we were there. He waved at us while taking Freddy away. What? Then when she talks to Freddy, she's talking as if she doesn't know that we're listening in. It's almost like they put on a show. Like, sure, the daycare attendant isn't able to get us if we're in a recharge station, but we clearly aren't invisible to him because he literally waves at us. So why wouldn't he inform Vanessa about this while mentioning Freddy? And if he did, why not bring that up when talking to Freddy instead of just asking him if he's helping us? It doesn't make sense. The daycare attendant not ratting on us is definitely a lucky moment, but I guess, I don't know, maybe he knows that snitches get stitches, or maybe since Moondrop is such a damn creeper, he wanted to save us for himself. Oh god. And ultimately, in number 2, Boy Genius. The absolute mountain of knowledge that this kid has exceeds my own, okay? This kid is the size of a 4-year-old. He can fit inside Freddy, baby strollers, like popcorn kind of vending cart things that you can find around the Pizzaplex, and various other small areas. He's too small to drive one of the go-karts alone and has to get one of his, like, the instructor bot things, but he knows how to restart generators, operate a trash compactor. He's strong enough to restart generators, and he's also capable of driving a car, as well as identifying the car battery, connecting jumper cables on a car battery properly, and then using those to fix Freddy's recharging issue, okay? How does this make any sense? And how do they solve that issue in literally any other ending, okay? Because Freddy is still going to need to recharge every hour, supposedly, or at least he says that he does. I don't really believe that that's a story for another day. But like, how does this happen? Okay, how do they solve that issue? This kid knows more words than I do, but is somehow the size of a 4-year-old. Maybe even smaller, okay? It makes absolutely no sense. And this kid's weird superpower is what makes this game so confusing. It really only makes sense if he's a robot that's supposed to mimic a toddler who's been operational for decades and has been learning the whole time, okay? Or that Security Breach is really just a cleverly skinned Jimmy Neutron fan game, okay? Which one is more likely here? And finally, in at number 1, Free Roam Freddy. We've talked a lot about the parts and service section, okay? Because Gregory just seems to have gotten extremely lucky at multiple points in this chapter of the game, one after the other. However, the luckiest, I think, comes from after Vanessa leaves Freddy in parts and service. She says that it's so that his casing can be put on a new endo after either corporate gives the green light or they have someone on the clock who can actually just remove it and put it on someone else. But she doesn't seem to be suspicious that he's walking around Rockstar Row literally within like maybe 3 minutes if you've played the section before and don't mess up the memory game, okay? Like, who would have repaired him if not Gregory? There is literally no other living human in the Pizzaplex at this point, and the whole containment cylinder thing is to protect human beings. There are no staff bots in parts and service, and the reason you had to leave him there was because nobody else is working since it's after midnight. Why would Vanessa be so chill about Freddy walking around after that? I mean, like, she literally left him with his head removed. And if she assumed that somehow he did it himself, why wouldn't she then confine him to his room if he's that suspicious? Especially after just accusing him of helping to protect Gregory. It was something that confused me so much in my first playthrough, so I figured that Vanessa would pull us out of Freddy if we got too close. But I walked up to her to test it, and nothing. It would have been easy to make just a little modification to her code for this part of the game and make her actually be like, why are you here? Rip out Freddy. Or rip out Gregory, not Freddy. But like, come on, you could have made Vanessa a little bit more dangerous at this point, but no, okay? Gregory venting certainly isn't the only thing that's sus about this game. Let me just say that.